They said evil was just an idea, a word meant to explain the unexplainable, a shadow we cast when we can't face the darkness within ourselves. But in the winter of 1980, in a small Connecticut town wrapped in quiet snow and faith, something ancient and unspeakable broke through the walls of reason, something that would leave blood on the floor and fear in the hearts of everyone who dared to whisper its name. The devil made me do it. It began in the house of the Glatzel family, a modest home filled with prayer, laughter, and the innocence of childhood, until one summer day, when 11-year-old David, the youngest boy, began to scream about something only he could see, something hiding in the shadows, calling his name in a voice not his own, whispering promises of death, and laughing when no one else was near. At first, they thought it was nightmares, the kind that children grow out of. But soon the nights became battles, David waking with scratches across his chest, his sheets torn, his eyes wide and empty, describing a man with black eyes, hooves instead of feet, and a voice that echoed inside his skull like thunder trapped in a cave, saying over and over, "I am the beast." The family's faith began to tremble as the house filled with sounds no one could explain. Footsteps dragging across the ceiling, guttural growls coming from the walls, furniture shaking as though the air itself was alive, and David, the small boy who once prayed before every meal, began to speak in deep, rasping tones, languages he never knew, his body twisting in ways that defied bone and muscle, as if something was using him like a puppet of flesh. Terrified, his mother called upon the church, and soon Ed and Lorraine Warren, the famed demonologists known for confronting forces beyond comprehension, arrived, bringing with them crucifixes, holy water, and decades of faith forged in the presence of evil. Yet even they would later admit, what they saw in David was beyond anything they had faced before. Lorraine spoke of a shadow that clung to him like tar, a presence that filled the room with a suffocating cold, draining the air from their lungs. And during the exorcism, as priests recited prayers of deliverance, the boy's voice shifted into something monstrous, mocking, screaming blasphemies with a grin that didn't belong to a child, his small body thrown violently against the walls, his eyes rolling back, and when asked who he was, the entity growled one name, one that no one dared repeat. Out loud, hours turned to nights, and the family's hope turned to despair, until one day, in the middle of a violent convulsion, the boy's soon-to-be brother-in-law, Arn Cheyenne Johnson, stepped forward, shouting at the unseen force, commanding it to take him instead, swearing with a trembling voice, "Leave the boy alone. Come into me." And the room went silent, a stillness that felt alive, as if the air had frozen in fear itself, and those present swore that something shifted, something unseen but real, passing like smoke between them, from the boy to the man who had spoken. And from that day forward, David's torment faded, but Arnie's began. Weeks passed, and Arn began to change. His gentle smile dimmed, his eyes lost their light, his temper grew violent, and he claimed to see the same dark figure in mirrors and corners, whispering to him, urging him to do unspeakable things, his sleep consumed by nightmares of clawed hands and burning eyes, until one February day in 1981, the nightmare walked into the light. It was a cold afternoon, and Arn was with his fiancée Debbie at the kennel where she worked. Their landlord, Alan Bono, had invited them for lunch. Drinks flowed, laughter tried to fill the space. But something unseen began to stir beneath Arnie's skin, his hand trembling as his eyes clouded over, and witnesses later said he suddenly stood up, his face pale, his lips moving silently, as though listening to someone no one else could hear. Moments later, chaos erupted. Arn lunged with a knife, stabbing Bono over and over, 17 times, each thrust filled with a strength that seemed unnatural, his voice guttural, his movements mechanical, until the world around him shattered, and he blinked as if waking from a dream soaked in blood, the blade falling from his hand as Bono lay dead on the floor. When police arrived, Arn said only one thing: "It wasn't me." The town was shaken, the newspapers exploded with headlines, and the Warrens, who had warned that the demon had leapt from David to Arn, now faced the unthinkable, a possession that ended in murder, a crime committed not by choice, but by command, and for the first time in American history, A defense attorney stood before a judge and declared that his client was not guilty because the devil made him do it. The courtroom buzzed with disbelief as the defense brought in priests, eyewitnesses, and even the Warrens, all testifying that they had seen the signs, that Arn had been overtaken by something inhuman. But the judge, bound by law and not faith, refused to allow the supernatural into evidence, saying the court was not the place to determine the existence of the devil. So the trial went on like any other, with photographs of the body, with tears and testimony. But in the quiet corners of the courtroom, there was always that sense that something else was present, unseen but watching, as if the darkness itself wanted to see how humanity would explain away what it could not understand. Arn was convicted of manslaughter, sentenced to 10 to 20 years, though he served only 5. His behavior in prison calm, quiet, obedient, almost too much so, as though the thing that had once lived within him had finally gotten what it wanted and left, drifting back into the shadows, waiting for another voice to call its name. Lorraine Warren would later say that she never forgot the look in Arnie's eyes during those days. A look that wasn't his, a stare that burned like coal, heavy with hatred and despair, and she claimed that the recordings from the exorcisms still carried the growls, the screams, the words that no human throat could have formed, sounds so dark that even the church kept them locked away. And those who've heard them say that if you listen closely, beneath the roars and the prayers, there's another voice, deep, calm, whispering through the static, a voice that doesn't sound like a boy or a man, but something ancient, something that remembers every soul it's ever taken, murmuring the same phrase over and over again. He invited me in. To this day, no one can truly explain what happened to the Glatzel family, to Arn, or to that house where faith and fear collided. But those who were there will tell you that what they witnessed was not sickness, not madness, but possession, the kind that moves like a shadow through human weakness, the kind that speaks with our voices when we are too afraid to fight back, the kind that wears us like a mask until it no longer needs us. And when night falls in Connecticut, when the air is still and the woods go silent, some swear they can still hear the faint echo of that recording, a growl between breaths, a whisper behind the wind, reminding us that evil doesn't vanish. It waits, it watches, and it listens for the next desperate soul who dares to say, "Take me instead."